Okay, Brian, this is your machine, and 3120053 serial number. We put some wrap here, nicely secured. Contains heat better, much better all the way around to keep some protection here. And as you can see, very nicely put together. And one of the things I wanted to say was that when you're starting up the machine, this indicates power when this goes on. And then this here indicates when you're doing a thermal dump. So when this light goes on, the temperature down here reaches the set point to where you had set at. So when the temperature matches what the dial says, this light will go on, indicating that your solenoid on your tank will be turned on, and it will allow the water to flow into your tank and lower the temperature. Once the temperature lowers, this thermostat will read the temperature and send a signal to this switch down here and tell the 12 volts to shut off the solenoid. And this cycle will be repeated. What I've done is I put a circulatory bypass here, so you should always have this cracked open just ever so slightly. You'll see this needle change up here. The pressure will drop a little bit, and sometimes it will dance a little bit. This is good to have because it keeps constant readings and accurate readings, especially on your temperature gauge and also for your thermostat. It eliminates the downtime of your operating pressure during your dump cycle because it allows the water to migrate around through and across the probe. And as you can see, it comes over here, it goes down through your bypass. This line goes to the rear of your machine, out from the back. And everything is labeled on the tank. So thermal A is here to the right of the solenoid on the tank, and thermal B is your drain. That's your thermal bypass. That's your bypass, as well as your chemical prime. This is your thermal solenoid line, which goes to your solenoid, right to the ball valve that is attached to your solenoid. And just to mention, there's going to be a little bit of grease that comes out of here. This is normal. It's the way it's been machined. They're balance holes, so don't be alarmed if you see that. You got an upper and lower bearing that takes axle grease, so you got an upper and lower. You have a fill that's supposed to be halfway for your synthetic oil, and this is your fill right here. Put a little funnel there, and then put a rag down here, and you can, when you add it, it'll drip down, and once it starts dripping out, then you know that you're about at the level that you want for your synthetic oil. This is for your crankcase to protect the gears and the timing gears inside. So as far as operation, should always give your choke it first, of course. Once your battery's hooked up, proper polarity. These lines here, that's your high limit. That goes to your waste tank. Doesn't matter which side. There's a non-polarity, so whatever wire on your float switch that you put it on, it doesn't matter, just as long as they're connected. What that does is that when it goes in the up position, this side is ground, which is tied to your chassis ground, and that collapses the white wire here, which will be attached to these groups of wires over here. So what happened was when the water comes up in your tank, it will shut down your it'll collapse the field on your magneto, halt the engine, and keep water from inducting through your return line of your filter in your tank back through your blower. So it'll be coming in here in the direction of airflow is coming from the tank over here, in, around, down, across, and then down into your silencer. We have an accessory switch here for your 12 volts, depending on when you want to put a demand pump or whatever pump out feature. So you have an accessory right here. Here's your drain for your water pump, and then you've got a little dipstick here. You got a little eyeglass there. It should be right in the middle on the red dot. Then you've got a drain here for your engine oil. Here's your dipstick, and then your fill. It's pretty straight up. Oh, by the way, you got your switch. That'll send 12 volts to your accessory switch. And by the way, you got a fuse here, 30 amp fuse. You got a delayed fuse here. Oftentimes, that's not even an issue, but I put it in there in series anyways. And we have a pulse hose down here to absorb the pulsations, to take the wear and tear off the coils and fittings and hoses. Your chemical feed, when this is in the down, that's prime. That means that line B, like I showed you in the back, drain B will lose a certain amount of chemical as a prime, and then when you bring it up here, it goes into your chemical metering, which is pointing up to your acrylic flow meter. This is GPH, which is gallon per hour of your chemical feed. And then you can adjust your ball valve to adjust the amount of soap that's going through your last step. And of course, your last step injection system is right here. And the direction of travel is up here through the acrylic flow meter, back down through the pump, across into your three-way, which I call the decision valve. And that's where it directs either to the top or to the bottom for either your metering for your chemical, as labeled here, or your prime, which is usually what you start out with first. You'll see the marker go up, and then you'll switch it over into chemical, and when you hit your wand, and you'll see it going up, like in the operational video that I did last night. Here's your water connection. Here's your oil for your lobes. High RPM, spray some WD-40 in there. Your high pressure line that goes to your pressure hose and wand, or whatever tool that you decide to use. Locking T-throttle. The aviator vernier adjuster can be used to adjust micro in the unlocked position. It can actually adjust to micro range of RPMs, and just by moving this to wherever you decide to move it. As you can see, it's very, very fine adjusted. It's not like a T-throttle where it comes out real harsh, hard to lock in and hard to grab. The problem with the T-throttles is they bust all the time. So I come up with the aviator. Why not? Blue Baron aviator. And then you pull it out when you want to lock it in place. You just tighten it to keep it in full throttle, or decide you want to go counterclockwise to unlock it, and then push it back into its idle position. Very nice throttle system. Aviator throttle for the Blue Baron. So we have an instructional thing at the bottom as well. And everything is here. Wiring scheme is really easy to understand. And your belts, you got your belt guard. You got your adjuster here. But you also have another adjuster inside here for your belt tension, and then also for your angle adjuster. So it pushes on this pump and adjusts the angle of this belt that comes off your driver pulley. This is your driven pulley, and the driver pulley is on your crankshaft. Same thing with the other side. You got an adjuster as well over here. You got your stainless flat bar, and it's pushing this back. And then we also got a angular adjuster here that adjusts the angle of the belts as they come off the driver going to the driven You want to make sure they're nice and square and come off there nice and square, so you don't use up any belts, give you low wear. So you want a perfect adjustment. That's what you. That's how we build our truck mounts. This is a nice system. You'll like it. Take your time with it, and that's about it. And also, I wanted to mention again, this line here is top one on your tank, on your terminal block, is your 12 volts white, and this is your ground. Okay, and that ground goes to here, but it falls to the terminal block on your waste tank. And this is a pallet that's going on, and there's your tank over there. I'm going to label thermal A on this side and thermal B on this side. This is going to your filter box. It's all stainless, and as you open it up, you can see the inlets coming down through stainless and a PVC non-corrosive filter, 3-inch easy flow filter. I'm going to put the vacuum relief on it, and here's your high limit shutdown, and then your fittings will go in a box. These fittings will be put in a box, and here's what I was talking about, 12 volts here, ground there, so white here, black there at the bottom. That's thermal A side. I'll put a little sticker here, and this is B side. And you can line it up with what's in the rear of the machine. Real easy to hook up. You have your JIC military standard Navy flares for high pressure, and you got your stainless 2 6-foot stainless braided 1/4 hoses. 500 degrees tolerance, 3000 psi. This here is to protect in the event that you don't want too much pressure. If you're going high in pressure, you can't really exert this more than, they said 1200, 1500, 1200. I'd say anything over 1000, shut this off, because you're putting a lot of exerted pressure on this solenoid here. And if you're doing carpet cleaning, just keep it open like that, so you've got regulation. But another thing is if you've got a problem with a piece of sediment inside of it, and this is not seating, and it keeps flowing out, and you're losing your pressure, and you use this to shut it off, and then you can finish your job. You might not get regulation, but you'll be able to get paid at the end of the day or night, depending on when you're working, and you can later on fix this. There's a collar nut here, and inside are 2 springs, and sometimes at the bottom you'll get sediment, which sometimes will prohibit the little plunger needle from blocking the orifice. So sometimes if you go back and forth like this, click, click, click on the front of your thermostat, front of the machine, sometimes it will reset. Time down the road, the spring could get weak over a period of time, and you have to replace it and get a rebuild kit. But other than that, this thing is pretty trouble-free. But that's the reason I put that on there. My experience, 40 years, I do things to make it easier, knowing that you might run into problems. At least you've got an emergency stoppage of the loss of the water, and you can continue having sufficient working pressure to do your job, carpet cleaning or pressure wash or whatever. So the filter box is being brought back tomorrow. We'll have this thing loaded up as well. And if you have any questions, call 727-505-2989. Thank you.